good night, and welcome to the conversation. I'm your co-host, Alistair Sampson, and we have with us Christopher Crossy, aka Mr. Crossy, sir, aka the gentleman himself. Also, we have Micaiah Wilson, aka Mr. Fit, aka Mr. Fit X Studio, aka the Monster Trainer. All right, and we have also a special guest with us. We have Janelle Royer who will be connecting with us tonight. How are you going, Janelle?
Hi, good night. I'm fine.
Great, great, great. It's a pleasure to have you with us tonight. So we have, before we get into anything in terms of the conversation itself, you know what we have right now? We have Christopher Crossley's COVID check-in.
Check
All right,
in.
so right to you, man, Chris.
All right, so good night, everyone. Thanks for joining us once again here on the conversation with the Mantle movement. And we are continuing to explore and hear the stories from business owners and how they've been pivoting during this pandemic time. But at the start, we're going to give Ms. Roya our usual welcome. We like to ask everyone, since the pandemic, since COVID came on the scene, I think it's about 16 months or 18 months now. How has it affected you personally? Because we always say the person, is who runs the business, and most people ask about the business, but we want to know more about the person. So how has it been for you during the pandemic time since it came?
Well, it didn't really affect me as much as I thought it would, because everything is moving on to the online setting, the online platform. And a lot of my business, which I didn't mention, is graphic design, freelance business, because I also do visual arts as a teacher. So I teach in a secondary level school. And, I try to balance the two. So I would have my classes in the morning, and then, I do the freelance graphic design in the evening. And it actually picked up for me for a good while. And then, a lot of people started, losing their jobs, and they were trying to downsize and all these different things. And so business slowly decreased a little bit, but I still had my, main clients, the norm. So I don't think it affected me as much as I expected it to, only because it was an online setting. So I could do all my stuff through all these different social media platforms, through email, through WhatsApp, and all these different things, and send out back and forth. But in terms of actually going in, I didn't need to have to do that. I never really had to do that unless I had to meet with a new client and so on. So I think it kind of worked out for me, because where some people had to actually close up, I was opening up, because people were doing more online, more advertising, more promotional stuff through the online platform.
Okay, but during this time, did you say that you were more productive? Did you lose any like your sleeping habits? Did that change? I know a lot of people either got very productive, hyper productive, and there were those who, that shift caused them to become a little more lackadaisical. They lost their sense of timing in terms of sleep and stuff like that. Did any of that happen to you?
I think 2021, the productivity went down. But as in 2020, because everything was like a quick shift, the productivity was there. But then, sometimes you have all these other personal things. You have children, because I have two of my own. So, you deal with that. You try to balance off all these other different things. And then the motivation, because you're not getting to actually go out and interact with others too, the motivation kind of goes down. So the productivity level was a little low, closer to 2021 this year here. So, you're all hyped and stuff like that during 2020. And then when 2021 reached, it's like everything just kind of slowed down. And same thing with the productivity level, So, yeah, I think it would have gone down a lot.
Okay, and was it something that you had to do to more or less pull yourself out of it, or was it mainly because business picked up, so you naturally became more active, or did you have to go through like a process of shifting your mindset or your habits or behavior in any way?
It was a little bit of everything. It's your business, it's my business, and I wanted to make sure that it was still going. And if you just stop and drop everything, then your business wouldn't make any money and so on. So you want to be able to try your best to push yourself, to do a little more, to try and get your networking out there and so on, because of personal situations where, a lot of people, in terms of the COVID situation, people were getting sick, people were dying. You might have close friends who had to go to the hospital, who may have been in close proximity with the virus, and all those things is like a mental breakdown. So you kind of had to, well, at least me, I had to push myself to, once I get up in the morning, to actually do more. But because I love what I do, it wasn't like a big push for me, so, and then I just, have to go to the computer and do my daily activities, mommy duties, and so on. It wasn't a big deal to try and push myself so much, but, I still had that lazy, quote unquote, kind of mentality. Like, oh gosh, do I need to get up and do this now?
I want to adult today at all.
Yes, you have those days. You have those days. I think everyone has those days. But because what I do, which is, as I said, graphic design, it's a more laid back kind of
make your own schedule type of.
Yeah, you can work around it.
Right.
So there wasn't much pushing I need to do for myself. It's like when I have a job, yes, I need to get it done, and I get it done. So I think I motivated myself sometimes, and that's really because I like what I do. I love doing my graphics. Right. And once I get a person who is willing and wants to contribute to me doing better, I am all for it. And I'm so glad that, okay, with all that's going on, and some people, they can't afford to do these things and to then get a job, and they are so interested in, okay, they want this logo to be out and running, and you want to make that happen for them. Right. So that's what I try to do. So when I get a job, I push myself, I work at it and get it done.
I heard you mention one of the things earlier, your mommy duties, right? And I know a lot of parents had to deal with the homeschooling and whatnot. And I mean, how was it for you in having to deal with those hats and being the mom, being the business owner, having to, handle those duties, which would have been probably a little different pre-pandemic, of course. So how did you find that balance, and what were the challenges you found in there?
Honestly, it was a bit crazy.
Yeah.
It's a 3-part thing for me, because I teach as well. I teach visual art.
Okay.
So during the day, I am balancing, making sure that, because I have 2 little ones, it's not like, anybody in secondary school as yet. They're both in primary school. One first year, now going to second year soon. Next one is going into standard 4 soon. So
it
was a crucial time in terms of, at least for my son, because he was in standard 3, and there's a lot of work. So I had to make sure work with him but also juggle my time with working with the students during the day. So it was a back and forth. I have a husband who helps me out a lot when it comes to my daughter. So he was, helping with her as well. And well, in the evening time, so I would tell my clients, because it's not a full graphic design business, it's a freelance business. So of course it would be during the evening time. So when I'm finished with schooling and everything settled with my children as well, then I move on to the graphics part of it. And I always tell my clients, I have to deal with this in the evening time, because during the day I am busy teaching and busy juggling, because during the pandemic it was a lot. I think, I don't know how it would be for some people, but at least for me, it was on the go all the time. Right. So for this July, August vacation, it was more of a relaxed setting where I was able to focus a little more on my business rather than having to juggle so much more, because they need attention as well. Right. So because they had a little downtime, I was able to do more graphic design during the day and tend to my clients a little more, because that's all part of it. You need to have some sort of full attention to your clients as well, because you don't want them to think that they're not important. Correct. So I was able to say, okay, so I know I could do this during the day. All right, tell me what time. I like due dates, so that I could kind of plan out everything as well. Because due dates for me is a big thing. Because then if you don't have a specific due date for something, then I will take my time on it. Rather than if it is that, we have a due date, deadline makes this a priority then. So it's a little bit of juggling every now and then. It wasn't crazy, but there was a certain pace that you had to have, at least during the school time. But as for July, August, the pace has slowly, it was a little slower than the norm.
Okay. I have a question. With respect to the type of clients and the kind of jobs that came in prior to the pandemic and during the pandemic, have you seen a change in terms of the type of work that was coming into you, and what were those kind of work that was coming into you during this particular time that maybe give an indication of how business was shifting, not only for yourself, but for others out there as well?
Well, as I said before, it didn't slow down as much because people were doing more things online and so on. And people were sort of gearing up to, at some point, reopen their business, or at least they could do something online. So I would have gotten people who would want logos, flyers, business cards, all these things, social media posts. Those things all could be done digitally. They don't necessarily have to be printed out. But yes, they would want things printed out, but in due time. So things could still, production could still move then. And I know for like my big businesses, Bermudas in particular, they're one of my bigger companies that I deal with. In terms of requesting artwork, they slow down a lot. Yeah. Their production slow down. So even though I would organize for labels and signage and so many other different things for their packaging design, and their truck design, all these things I would have done. That sometimes they need to replenish. They put a kind of halt on those things. And you would have seen just like one or two posts that they would ask for, like Instagram posts or Facebook posts. So on those things that were just for online usage rather than all the printed out things. So the production for big business owners and big companies was slow for me.
Okay.
But the smaller clientele, the small business owners, they were the ones who were trying to keep pushing, even though things were closing down and stuff like that. They wanted to maintain this this type of loyalty to their customers, and they wanted to let people know that no, they're not gone, they're still there, but just hold on for a little while. So and then there were some new ones, new clients who now they have an opportunity to do things online, and they want to push their product, they want to push their business as well. So they use my services to market their product or whatever, and or promotionally and so on. So there were ups and downs in terms of the big business to small business. So there were slow times and there were times where, okay, let's get it done. Even though there's business is slow, things are slow, we still want to get it out so that when it's time, we could put it out there.
I heard you mention social media there earlier. So is it that you help build social media content or just the graphics for the posts that people do?
I do the graphic design for it. So the design. So, but I tell people that, social media is very limiting when it comes to how much you want to put on your post. So most times, at least for Facebook, sometimes they send it back because there's too much content on the design itself. So you have to put like a caption and so on. So I leave that up to them to do, and I create the design.
Okay, because I know some people listening probably saying, "Oh, she's doing social media management too." Let me jump on that. I know that is a job by itself.
Oh yes.
Yes, that is what. Yeah, so it was too to do.
Yeah, that
I
is.
can do it, but it's a lot to take.
Yes, it is. Sorry about that. My dog is trying to name the conversation right now too. Yeah. I don't know. Let's have a great insight.
He wants to be in the mix.
Yeah, she does. She does ever so often. But what I wanted to ask as well, because I'm hearing graphic design and I'm hearing the type of companies, and just like what Alistair asked there, you saw, the type of jobs that were coming in. So if it is that, based on what you are seeing, happening now, right, because of the jobs that's coming in, do you think is there an uptick of new startups or businesses, or are you seeing it just being those that would have been previous clients returning?
Well, this year I got a few new people. So we have, like in particular, I got a client that is a psychologist. Usually, you go into someone for psychology and so on. But she is actually doing this online. And she wanted to make sure that she got her business card digitally done, so that she could send it out to let people know. And I was asking her, how is she doing this? And she said she's using the same platform we're using right now, which is Zoom and so on. And I think that helps for some of them. So it works out for me when it's time for them to market it and promotionalize it, because everything now they're doing online. So a lot of businesses, even though you have to have this physical setting, they're making it a priority now to be online as well, so that they will have those options of the two platforms. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. But so for you, because I mean, seeing that graphic design itself is already a business where you're mostly doing it on your computer. What is the difference for you pre-pandemic to now during the pandemic in that regards?
In terms of what? In terms of
like how did it change? How did it affect you in the sense where, all right, so before the pandemic, you would have been, all right, dealing with your kids, the household and whatnot, I guess scheduled in a certain way, right? I don't know if you had an office that you worked out of or anything like that. And then now during the pandemic, what would have changed for you, or what challenge would have arisen that would have had will cause you to have to make some changes?
Well, as I said, it wasn't a big change for me. And then I'm freelance, so I work out from home. I work from home. So it was me working from home to working from home. It didn't change in that setting. But in terms of the pandemic affecting the business itself, it would be people are now, more conscious of how they're spending. So I am not the typical cheap. I'm more of an affordable type person, and you don't want to lower your standards. So of course there will be a certain target audience and a certain clientele that I will be dealing with, and like for 2020 at least, I did like specials. So, everything had a discount to it because I knew the hardships of others. But then there were some who were able to pay the price that's, that the original price that's. And sometimes because of the charges that I put out there, they may not go with me not because they don't want to, but because it's they can't afford it right now. So a lot of people will go to someone else only because my price might be more or something, like they can't because they can't afford. And I generally work, I work with people's budget and so on. But you still can't sell yourself short no matter, what you do. So I did a special where, there's a certain discount that I give for, different things like maybe logos and so on, flyers and whatnot.
Right.
And it worked out for me because people were still doing that. But then, of course, because of the networking, and people will come to you and so on and say, so how much you charge for this and how much? And then they might, ask someone else at the same time, because they will have that. So you have to compare, because this is a very hard time right now. So you understand, or at least I understand, where it is, you try to compare these costs and say, okay. And if it is that the person you can work with their budget, then I'd work with their budget. But then there are some times where it doesn't come out very cost effective for me. And I would say, well, maybe I could put you on to someone else, or they themselves might say, okay, well, I'm going to go with this one, but thank you for, the offer. And I think that was the main thing. Because other than that, as I said, there wasn't much of a change, although the big businesses, the big companies, they slow down with their production and requesting artwork and so on. But when I got clients, then I would work with them. But new clients, getting new clients was like is a big challenge because of affordability, of being able to, okay, can I afford this right now? Anything. And then they will just find someone who may be cheaper or something like that. So some people are not really looking at the quality right now. They're looking more at the how cost effective it is for them at this point in time.
Just to get their stuff out, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess a lot of people will be going through, as we just say here, guava season, little drought because people would have lost jobs or they don't have as much free disposable income to do on certain things, or it might be in their budget to now, do the production that they would have been doing before. And then, I mean, for a new company or a startup, they might not even have the cash flow yet to begin to say afford certain services. So, so what would you do? Well, I know you said you offer specials, but what would you tell someone that will come to you knowing that, all right, their budget is only X amount and they need to produce certain things? Like, in what way can you see yourself, or any advice, or what you would actually share with them to help them with that?
Sometimes, well, at least I have a couple clients who I would say, okay, well, let's work out a system where you break down the costing, and if it is you could afford this now, you do this now, and you may want to do artwork for something else later on. So they will have clients who are requesting maybe a flyer just to get it out, get it promoted.
Right.
And I would tell them, this is something that you could start with. Don't just go with everything. Don't start off wanting to do everything one time.
Right.
Break it down. And then a flyer takes you far, actually,
really?
In terms of getting it out there. And it doesn't have to be print-wise. It could be digitally. So you have that to hold you for a good while. And then you can get into all your promotional items, if it is that you want, like jerseys and so on, to print on. Then you can take that other step. But work with what you have right now, and then it will all come into play afterward, because then when you use the flyers and you use these posts to promote and market your business, your new business, then you will now start to get the clients coming in. But doing everything one time, then you would not be able to actually focus on doing these flyers that promote any business.
Right.
And because you've already spent all your money on one kind of collateral, and then you don't necessarily need jerseys yet. So I have a client who is like that, who I kind of advise as to when it is time, you do the jerseys. Right now, you need to build that business first, and then get more clients. And then when you are going out there, because you're not going out there to everyone right now because of COVID. So you don't need to have the jerseys just as yet, because all of that is for show. All of that is a promotional item, yes, but it's not necessary at that point. So you could use it going down the line as another promotional piece, rather than do everything promotional and then you can't afford to do anything else.
Yeah, I think that's a big issue. A lot of startups, where they watch larger companies and they watch what they have: branded pens, T-shirts, the hoodie, the caps, the little pins, and they think that they need that when they're starting their business. And the truth is, they don't.
Exactly.
You don't need branded pens right now. You don't need a branded memory key, USB key. You don't need these things right now. These things are not going to actually help you generate revenue. So you need to focus on your sales and your marketing and your funnels and whatnot to get your business going. So that is a good point in helping them, see, at which phase or which step they are in building a business and produce what you need for that. And I think that's something a lot of startups need to actually hear, a lot of entrepreneurs need to hear. You don't need a branded pen. All right. You don't. Use a big this will fine.
Yeah. It's really all for shows,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. You have to
work,
when you're starting up, you have to work with what you have.
Correct. Were you going to say something that's not answered?
No. I was just agreeing in terms of what you're saying there.
Okay, cool. Right. So, so tell us, more about your business in terms of what the business is. Where can people find you?
All right. So it's called Mantle Designs, and the reason why is because, my name is Janelle. So it's Jan. I took Jan from my name. And I had this personality. I'm a very quiet person, very reserved. And, I said, well, let's go with Tranquil. So I put Tranquil Designs together. And it's designs, it's graphic design. So that is where the name came up. Now I have like a little icon, which is the butterfly. I love butterflies. They're beautiful. And I always say, a butterfly is something that is the creepy crawly and then turns into something beautiful. So this is why I use the butterfly as an icon, because it's something that grows into something beautiful.
Right.
I love the purple because purple is royalty. So I have my color scheme and it's purple and all that kind of thing. And I actually didn't start off really as wanting to do art so much. I was more into food and so on. But then, it's my grandmother who was watching at all these caricatures that I would draw and how I loved to paint and all these kind of things. And she said, you need to do some art. So I actually did not do art for CSEC and so on. And a lot of people used to ask me that, like, did you do art in secondary school? And I said, no. It wasn't something that I was focusing on really. But eventually, I got into it. I did, short courses and so on. And then I did my degree in visual communications and all this. And I learned to love it even more. And eventually it became something that I just wanted to do. And I have been doing this art for over 20 years.
Wow.
But the business actually was registered. It will be 11 years in November.
Okay, congrats.
So, thank you. Yeah, so I did a little small celebration. Alistair, you did not get your token.
Oh, yes.
I celebrated my 10 years last year, even though wasn't at the best, times. But I wanted to give a little back to my clients to say like a thank you kind of. So I did like little tokens for them for my 10 year because I was really proud of myself in actually doing my 10-year anniversary of graphics. And people always ask, so it's only 10 years that you've been doing it? And I keep telling them, no, I have been doing it before. It's just the business itself. Yeah, it's registered for 10 years. And a lot of people say, well, that is a really good, really good outcome for you. That happened. And, it has been an on and off roller coaster a little bit. But I had my ups and downs. You learn, new things. Even if you think you know it all, you don't.
Correct.
You learn how to run a business a little better. You learn the type of clients you need to deal with. You learn how to manage your money better as well. And as we were talking about, you don't go just spending on just promotional items, and then you don't have to do other things that may become more important at the time and so on. And I think it has been a really good journey thus far. Because I guess when you, as I said, when you like what you do, when you love what you do, it doesn't become like a job.
Right.
It is something fun and interesting. And so I like to create all my logos and flyers and posters and all these different things which it entails, even publications. I do publications as well. I've done that for a lot of government offices.
Okay.
So like the annual reports and magazines and so on, type of things. So all of these things are entailed into Jankwell Designs.
Okay.
So
excellent. Well, we'll make sure to put, the name and how you can be reached, your social media, and you can reach on Facebook and stuff like that. And I'm actually glad that you shared how you got your name, because when you said Jan Quill, what came to mind first for me was the quill, the actual feather. Because I thought graphic design, so I was like, well, that's usually writing, but I guess it could be graphics too. But then as you shared, it was actually tranquil, tranquility and how you combine it. So that's actually great. And, as I said, congratulations on going on 11 years in business. So with that little history, what would you say has been your biggest lesson, or what have you learned the most being in business for 10 years?
As I said, I learned a lot, and I've gotten burnt by clients, and you learn that you need to have contracts, and it doesn't necessarily have to be these paper and pen in terms of my graphics, that is, in terms of actual paper and pen to it. But that is an up that would help a lot.
Right.
But contracts also through emails. So I learned that, there are some people that I would have done work for, and then after you do the work for them, and then they may not have agreed with such, and there's no down payment made.
Right.
Then you've just lost everything, because then the person would just not go with it, and you have put in so much work and so much time and effort into the design that you have created for them, and then they don't want it. So I've learned that you need to have contracts, you need to have down payments. You also, on the client side of things, you need to learn the client. So if they want something done and they have an idea of what they want, you have to listen to what your client wants, but at the same time guide them, So you're not gonna just say, okay, all right, this is the client is gonna say, I want blue and red together. But then maybe blue and red is not going to work in that setting. You want to be able to guide them as well. So you're going with what they are saying in terms of the idea as to what they want, but then you have to kind of mold that idea and embellish it a little more to create something that they may want.
I like the fact that you had brought up the point there with respect to how you had reached this particular position, and along the area of that this was not something that you had done in secondary school, but you had picked it up after and actually did your degree and everything and that. And I mean that really speaks well, because I think a number of persons, unfortunately, they think that okay, because this is what I studied in secondary school, this is my path, and I need to do this for the rest of my life. And that point that they brought up there with respect to you can actually shift or make a pivot early to say, okay, I can actually go this direction and I could do something else other than what I had traditionally done in terms of the CXC subjects at the time and these things like that. I just hope that persons who are listening right now understand that if you need to make that shift, there is no problem in making that shift, no way
Correct.
whatsoever. So you can make those steps. And yes, you may tell yourself, well, I've not done this in school before and these things like that. But honestly, it does reap its reward, especially if it is that it's something that you're passionate for. So, I mean, Janelle, I'm really glad that you really brought that up, really, to let that sink in home for persons who want to make that shift as well, too, with respect to following their dreams and actually going to learn something about it. So that was good.
Correct.
Thanks.
And as you mentioned, Alistair, allow me to ask, were you married with children and stuff yet when you made that shift, or that was before?
Me?
Yeah.
You.
Were you?
Okay. Okay. No.
Okay.
I was actually working at the time.
All right.
I was actually working for a child psychologist as an assistant. So no,
Okay.
it was just me.
Go ahead.
Just me.
Okay. 'Cause I know for some people, they may be thinking, I'm married, I have kids, and to stop to make this shift now might feel like such a great thing to do or a risk. But I always say there's no time better than now, regardless. And I think even if you have, even if you're married, you tend to have that conversation with your significant other, and you'll see how the support system could work. You see what will need to change here and whatnot at point, if you need classes or if you need support with the business, with the kids, and just simply make the shift if you need to. Because for me, it's painful when you want to do something, you're passionate about something, and you're not getting to do it. It feels like part of you is dying slowly. You really feel like part of yourself is slipping away because you're not getting to actually enjoy or live. And you see how you mentioned, Ms. Roya, that it doesn't feel like, it wouldn't actually feel like work to you because you're actually enjoying what you're doing. Yes, you're within the constraints of a business. However, you're still getting to do something you enjoy. And a lot of people don't get an opportunity because they just take too long, or they procrastinate on just doing it, on taking action and doing it. So yes. So I just wanted to confirm, if it is you were married before, anything like that. So Alistair, you have any more questions as we looking to round up?
It's just really along this. What words could you give for persons who want to make that shift into going into graphic designs, going into business on their own, even if it is that they're maybe doing something full time right now and maybe looking at doing freelancing? What advice could you give to them at this time right now, especially in this pandemic era, as I call it?
Era.
I think you just have to kind of focus on what you want to do. And it has to be something that you like doing, is passionate about. Because if you're not passionate about it right now, especially now as things are kind of not as busy as it would normally be,
right,
it wouldn't work out. Then you getting up in the morning just to get things done is not gonna
motivate you,
help in terms of trying to get there. You need to be able to know that you are going to be committed to this, because the graphic design business is something very saturated. A lot of people are doing it, and there are persons who are what you would say fly by nights. They didn't learn
Okay.
and learn the whole
No
process.
fundamentals and yeah.
Yes, yes, exactly. All the fundamentals.
They know Photoshop.
Right. They only know certain things, and they are also going to be in that bracket of you who would be the one who has been doing this for years or has a degree in it and has the experience in it. And because they come out being cheaper, you now have to come with the quality rather than the quantity. So you need to have that commitment and that passion behind what you're doing in terms of if it is that you want to pursue such career, as I should say. Yes.
You find a lot of persons out there who just doing what they want, patching certain things together, and giving the profession itself a bad name out there with respect to graphic design. And then sometimes you have to be defending your work because of what other persons have done in the past. And sometimes that could be a lot of extra work you have to do right now, Janelle, in terms of
Yes, and it happens too. Some people, someone else, because they're cheaper and they do it quick for you and so on, and then don't take the time into it, and then they would come to me and say, okay, this wasn't done good. I don't like it anymore. And you have to do it over and you have to break it down too. Because sometimes because of the program that they use, it's not seen properly, it's very pixelated and all these kind of things. I don't know if some people might not know what pixelated is. It's like when it's very fuzzy and so it's not sharp and crisp. So I've had those things happen. So it's always better to go with. Some people are very expensive. There are people who are expensive, but go with somebody who you can afford and who does a really good job at it. Not just somebody who you can afford. Somebody who can afford, and the quality of it is done well. And they put their time and effort into what you want as well.
Okay. Wow. We have been over the last 2 weeks making sure we connect with entrepreneurs and business owners because we want those listening to get, an inside behind the curtain, behind the mind in the life of people like themselves who are going through this time and, experiencing what they experience and don't know. So for sure, I hope you know that you're not alone. All right. Those who would have joined us last week and this week see that, there are people who are still in business 10 years plus, right? 11 years this year. Last week we had who was fresh, who just started in January. And you will see that there is that trend, that similarity where, it's just about being able to get up every day, stay focused, enjoy what you do, and making sure you get the job done. So I really want to thank everyone that tuned in tonight. And of course, we want to thank our guest, Mrs. Roya, for joining us and sharing her time and, giving us a little peek and insight into what she does. And as I said, we'll make sure and put, her Facebook and her Instagram and, her business in the comment section so that you can go ahead and check her out. And if you need the services, please reach out. All right, have the discussion with her. Okay, don't be shy. Nobody here in Mantle movement crew shy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make sure to reach out to her and please get your work done. This is the time where entrepreneurs and other business owners need to lean and work and support each other. All right.
That's right.
So, any closing remarks, Alistair?
Again, thank you very much for connecting with us on the conversation. Again, thank
You're
you for joining
welcome.
us. Really appreciate that. You helped me out in terms of the logo, and honestly, the quality of it honestly has really helped out a lot in terms of visual and able to stand out and everything that's like that. So as I say, it's not over in terms of work that I'll be talking with you on. Yeah, shame for plugging or doing. That's fine. All right, no problem there. And again, is just for persons who are out there right now who are listening. Again, as Christopher said, this is the platform we have here right now. The links are available, and again, just coming back in terms of where we are, this is an opportunity where you can make that pivot in your business. It's not too late in terms of making that shift. What it is that you need to do, what it is that you need to do to adapt in terms of the changes that are happening now. And this is the purpose of why we are doing these episodes for the past couple of weeks and how we are continuing with it. So
Yeah, yeah,
guys,
wonderful.
yeah, so really just really thank you for joining us, Janelle, in terms of connecting with us on the conversation, and for persons who are online watching us, thank you for tuning in as well. That's mainly it from my side.
All right. Well,
Okay.
next week is a holiday. All right. So we won't have Mantle next week, but you can be sure to follow me back on the 7th of September. All right. We may have some more guests, so please stay tuned. And until then, please, folks, whether vaccinated or unvaccinated, continue to wear your mask, continue to wash your hands, continue to practice social distancing. All right. So please be safe and enjoy the rest of your night.
All right.
Vamos a ver, Mantle.